Alrighty, y'all. So obviously, Little Mermaid comes out later today. And before she comes out, just like any other banner before, like any other anniversary, anything else, we are talking about who you should be summoning for between. It's really just Mihara and Little Mermaid. More you get for free, so you don't need to worry about if you should or should not summon for her. In my opinion, it's a fact. You're free. You don't need to summon for a free character. Anyways, it's really between Little Mermaid or Mihara because we are talking about two crazy characters, right? We're talking about potentially the new best burst one supporter in the game, and then also potentially the new best DPS in the game, right? And I probably would say Little Mermaid is better than Litter, just because like if you really have to ask yourself, like Litter is a great character, don't get me wrong, but Litter is the one thing I feel like that's still keeping Litter at number one for most people is the fact that she can heal your cover. That's it. Because her attack buff, don't get me wrong, her attack buff is great, but it is only 5 seconds, and we're in an age where like we don't need Litter's burst skill anymore. We don't need her burst skill to win. We can use any other burst one and win with now Crown in the game. So we're just using Litter just better technically, in my opinion. But Little Mermaid, she might be the best burst one in the game. I want to test before I make that claim. And then we might have the new best DPS in the game as well. So I think it's a bit hard for me to tell you guys who to summon for because I do feel like when it comes to burst one, they're lacking. I feel like we don't have many burst one options. I feel like burst one is just not in the best state, right? If you ask me, Zxous, who's a good burst one? I would tell you Little Mermaid. I would tell you Tia if you're running her with Naga. I would tell you Rouge. I would tell you I'm not gonna count Rappy or Red Hood. I would tell you D Killer Wife, Dorothy, and Litter, right? And I think there's somebody else I'm missing. I'm not sure. I don't think so. But yeah, those are who I would tell you are the good burst ones. But like a lot of them aren't really as crazy as you think. Like I don't want to say they're not as crazy, but they're all kind of niche, right? Like Dorothy, I'm not using Dorothy unless I'm fighting a boss. That's just me personally, right? D Killer Wife is great and all. I'm using her on fire comps, or I'm mainly going to be using her with some Pierce characters personally. When it comes to like Litter, out of all the burst ones, Rouge, I'm mainly using her with Cinderella, but I can use her without Cinderella, but I am mainly using her with Cinderella. Like out of all the burst ones personally, Litter is the only one that I'm using on any and every team. Everybody else will require someone. Tia requires Naga. Rouge does not require anybody else, but you're probably best off running her with Cinderella. Like Rouge and D Killer Wife are the only two that you could probably pass for. Because D Killer Wife, you don't need her with Pierce characters. It's just good with Pierce characters because she buffs up Pierce characters, right? And then Dorothy is just like more bosses than anything else personally, I think. So I feel like this character alone is a great addition to the burst one slot, where when you go to burst 3, even though Mihara is like probably the new best DPS in the game, you still have too many good DPSs. Alice, Anise, both Asukas, Brady, Cinderella, favorite item Drake, Ayn, Amelia, Guillotine, Winter Slayer, Helm favorite item, Laplace favorite item, Ludmilla, Maiden, Mana to an extent if you build her. My Mana hits quite good actually, I'm not gonna lie to you. Modernia, Quincy if you build, Phantom if you build, right? I don't want to count them, but sure. Rappy Red Hood, Ray, the tentative name one or whatever. Sakura if you build, Scarlet if you build, Scarlet and Scarlet Black Shadow, yeah. Like, you know what I mean? We have too many powerful DPSs. The only difference is Mihara might be the best now. She might be just overall strongest DPS in the game, right? What she does is just too much. I feel like way too much. And it's like you look at her kid, it's like, no, Zxous, her numbers are too like low. You would think that, but then when you read deals 25% of final attack and sustained damage every 1 second continuously, that means it's 25% final attack and sustained damage every 1 second for an entire game. That multiplies by a stat count is crazy. And then on her burst skill, it's the same thing that multiplies of that stat count of something that's already infinite. That's crazy to me. You know what I mean? That's just crazy to me. So I would say you're probably better off going for Little Mermaid. I do think so. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't summon from Mihara. I do just think you're better off going for Little Mermaid. Even though Mihara is the best DPS, or probably the best DPS, supports do just have longer longevity. They do. They really just have longer longevity. DPS characters ever always gonna get the new best DPS character, right? This is the first time ever where for a half anniversary they did two pilgrims, right? For all we know, the third anniversary character will be the new best DPS in the game. That's what happens every year. And then guess what? You still have the best support with you, which is Little Mermaid. So if you want my honest opinion, I do think you're better off going for someone like Little Mermaid, who has CDR, attack damage buff, field burst gauge. And mind you, this is probably the first character in the game that has cooldown reduction and field burst gauge, right? Reload buff, attack damage buff, attack buffs, mainly for herself, stuns, and then just deals damage for free based on how much people are attacking on your team. Like, I would recommend you to go for something like that over something like this, where it is, yes, the new strongest DPS, but at the same time, the strongest DPS can't get you far alone. You know what I mean? I can't just put Cinderella on my team and expect to win because Cinderella is the most powerful DPS. No, you still need to have your characters to support you and stuff like that. Like, if you use Cinderella with 2022 characters, tell me you're going to be Interception. You're probably not. But if you run her with the crazy supports like Crown, favorite item Helm, etc., yeah, you're probably going to get far. You know what I mean? So I would probably prefer for you guys to summon for Little Mermaid over Mihara. But it's up to you at the end of the day. If you can go for both, go for both. I mean, I think just because of the event where if you do 4 multis, you get another multi back for both Little Mermaid and Mihara, it's in your best interest to use the free multis they're giving you, 4 on Little Mermaid, 4 on Mihara, because then you're getting 2 more multis for free, basically. But if you only were able to get one of the two, I would say it's better off getting Little Mermaid. But this is just my my opinion before the characters even come out. Mind you, I haven't tested out Little Mermaid yet. I haven't tested out Mihara yet. This is just going off of paper, right? And then just using logic from what characters we have today in the game versus what characters or versus these characters right now, right? My thing is Little Mermaid, Crown, and Cinderella is going to be crazy, right? Little Mermaid, Crown, and Mihara is going to be crazy. Like, my whole point is you're going to have those crazy supports for the DPSs. So if you don't have the definitive best DPS, let's say Mihara right now is the definitive best DPS. If you don't have the best DPS, it doesn't take away from the fact that you have these crazy supports that make all these other godlike DPSs even more broken. You know what I mean? So I would probably go for the support, which is Little Mermaid over Mihara. And then Mori is free, so you don't need to worry much about that. But if you guys agree, let me know in the comments down below. If you don't, then you don't. Just do what you want to do, right? At the end of the day, it's an anniversary. Have fun. But if you want my honest opinion, your gems are better spent on Little Mermaid longevity-wise. But both of these characters are fantastic. So let me know what you think down below. It's your boy Zxous. I'm out. Peace.